Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Draft and Drive. My name is Josh. I'm here with my sister, Alexia. We are siblings who are NASCAR enthusiasts, and today we're going over the weekend at Talladega. We had a very eventful weekend at Talladega. We had 3 new winners across the series that participated, but I won't spoil anything yet. Alexia, what happened during the O'Reilly race, if you do mind catching us up?
I just want to start off by saying Josh is making me sit uptight like I'm in a prison because he thinks I'm too short, despite me being 5'1" and can't get any taller.
That's how she looked.
I just want to say, So I'm having to sit really prim and proper for the podcast. Alright, I'm ready to jump into O'Reilly. That's how I look driving.
I was going to say, is this you driving over the steering wheel?
I can hardly see over my steering wheel. I shouldn't have got a short car. Alright, anyway, I'm going to O'Reilly. Alright, so Jesse Love was on the pole. Action started early. With lap 1, Patrick Starpoli crashed hard, and David Starr also got some damage. Stage 1 winner, Carson Quaffle. Stage 2 winner was Justin Allgaier. There was a penalty for Justin Allgaier and Carson Quaffle in Stage 3 because they blended back up on the track. The rule is that you must be up to speed before you blend up on the track. Justin Allgaier was pissed and said they do that in Cup all the time. It happens in every Cup race. But I guess NASCAR was being a little bit more firm on that this weekend. On the final lap, there was a hard crash. Sam Mayer crashed on the final lap. It was a single car crash until a little bit further down the track because another crash happened behind the leaders. The cars that were involved were Jeb Burton, Harrison Burton, Blaine Perkins, Brandon Jones, and Ryan Sieg. The big story of the race was that Corey Day got his first ever victory, but that might not be what was necessarily known. That was the big story on the Hendrick Motorsports team because Jason Kelsey was on the pit crew for the race. He went to Hendrick Motorsports a few weeks back and was testing out different positions on the pit crew. He ended up staying behind the wall, handing over the second gas cans, doing like a handoff from the one gas can to the other, and then catching tires. Sheldon Creed ended up winning the Dash for Cash and getting the $100,000. So obviously, big moment for O'Reilly this weekend, having Jason Kelsey. Like I said, I feel like that was kind of the big story. And it kind of, I feel like, overshadowed a little bit Corey Day's first victory, which, if you remember at the start of the year, he was getting absolutely destroyed by us as well on the podcast, saying, oh boy, did Hendrick Motorsports make a mistake? And now he finally got his first win, and it's honestly not too late into the season, but he's been progressing each week, and we can kind of see that it was coming. I wouldn't necessarily say at Talladega, but we would say that it was coming.
Yeah, even for him running, like making enemies on the track by doing boneheaded stuff, those races he did that, he still finished pretty good. So it wasn't a lack of, racecraft. It was more just, kind of being a little careless, I guess, it would say. I did not expect his first one to be at a plate track, but it does make sense. I gotta give a special shout out, though, Roger Carruth, because the race was actually very good, I thought, for most of it. The racing was great. Not necessarily on Sunday, but we can get into that later, too. But on the Saturday race was fantastic, and the way it was kind of lining up, the last run, it was just Jesse Love leading just a lane on the top. And I was like, are we really about to, the racing was so good throughout the day, are we really going to throw this finish away just to give it away to Jesse Love? Roger Carruth, as he is getting lapped down. He is one of the faster cars of the day. Him and I think Carson Quaffle probably had the faster car, but Roger Carruth puts it on the top, jumbles the whole field up, and we had a pretty good race to the finish. Besides it ending on a caution because of Harrison Burton smacking the wall head first. I did not have an issue with that. I think you kind of have to do it. I know people say just let it go, but get the safety folks out there as soon as possible is probably my, I think it was a good call. And then we can get into race picks, good surprise, bad surprise, but one more thing about the race I kind of noticed was Sam Mayer was in a very good position to potentially get the win on the backstretch. It was William Sawalich trying to make a move to pass him. Sam Mayer, whatever, they had contact. Mayer spins. I saw it. You saw it. We both said Sam Mayer threw a bad block. That's what we saw. On, where is it? Let me find it. Let's see. In his post-race interview, he says he got spun. He got spun. Didn't say that he spun. Twitter said that he got spun, and then William Sawalch apparently apologized to him. So are we going crazy? I thought he wrecked himself. Did you think he wrecked himself, right?
I thought he definitely made a bad block. I will say William Swalch, I believe, was a lap down, wasn't
Yes, he was.
So that was kind of hard racing for maybe, I don't know if he was trying to help him or what, but it was kind of hard racing for someone that was necessarily a lap down, unless he was 100% committed to Sam Mayer. I don't know why he would be with Sam Mayer driving a Chevrolet and then William Swalch driving a Toyota. I don't know. Maybe they're buddies, but not necessarily people that I think would be allies. But yeah, I thought it was Sam Mayer's fault. Like I said, you thought it was Sam Mayer's fault. No one else agrees with us. A hot take, one might say.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a couple of those coming up too. But yeah, I just was like, I saw him wreck himself. I think a lot of times people make those assumptions based off of who it is. William Sawalich, has kind of been the underperformer at, in the O'Reilly series. People have expected him to do better. He kind of has this bad, obviously he won this year, but before that, people kind of had this bad, like, they kind of thought of him poorly, whereas Sam Mayer is a bit more of more rooted for. He was on Junior Motorsports, which is a big team that people root for, so I think sometimes who you are plays a role in it, but I did think that was interesting. And also, another thing I noticed was Jesse Love, yes, he was leading a good portion of the day, but he definitely did not have the dominant car all day. He was not the best. I would say Carson Quaffle was the best, and is RCR's Cup incompetence bleeding into the O'Reilly series? Because where was Austin Hill all day? Guy had no speed. I don't think he led once. He was second for a bit, but he did not lead, I don't think, at all. Was nowhere near good. He had a slow pit stop, the last pit stop, which put him behind, but is RCR... I mean, I expected Austin Hill to kind of get himself together. He's had a rough couple weeks, and I was like, all right, they're going to Talladega. You can always count on RCR being at least pretty good at the drafting tracks, but if they're showing up bad at the drafting tracks in the O'Reilly series, I don't know. What do you think? Is it the beginning of the end for RCR's dominance on the plate tracks?
So, funny enough, my bad surprise actually did have Austin Hill. I actually also had Patrick Starpoli, which I'll dive into in a couple minutes. I think it was a bad week for RCR, I will say that, but I think the other teams caught up a little bit this weekend. I think, like you said, the Junior Motorsports cars were really fast, with Carson Quaffle looking like he was shot out of a rocket. So I think the other teams might be catching up a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm ringing the alarm bells for RCR, but I did have my bad surprise being Austin Hill, just because when you go to a drafting track, you expect Austin Hill and Jesse Love, but more or less Austin Hill, to be, if not winning the race, battling for first place or the win in the closing laps. Since we were talking about our bad surprises, I also talked about Patrick Starpoli. When Patrick Starpoli, I feel like, is on a drafting track, I am panicked, because I feel like that guy is veering all over the place, and he makes me nervous. And so then when we go to Talladega, I'm like, well, maybe he's gained a little bit of experience. Well, lap 1, he crashed this weekend at Talladega. Are you still there?
Your connection's awful, but yeah, he's definitely a weapon on the racetrack at the drafting tracks. I would absolutely agree with you there. My bad surprise, since we're bringing it up, was Junior Motorsports. The speed portion, that's a good surprise. The bad surprise is that 3 of them got penalties on the last pit cycle, taking them effectively out of the race besides Sammy Smith, including Carson Quaffle, who, like I said, I believe had the best car. And I believe if he doesn't get that penalty, I believe he's staring his first win in the face, because he had the best car. He could do a lot. He was moving around with a lot of confidence. And I also did have Austin Hill, nowhere near dominant. Ran second for a bit, but farted on it. My good surprise, if we're ready to talk about it, Dean Thompson. Sam Hunt, as a whole, the whole team needed a good showing, because they have been in the toilet. Horrible. Garbage. And they were poised for both their drivers to get good finishes before Harrison Burton kissed it wasn't a kiss, it was a slam, the outside wall face first. But for Dean Thompson, 6th is a great day. And also I had J.J. Yaley, the only Ford in the field, 11th place for Hettinger Racing. I don't even know how to pronounce that name, so their back marker. 11th place is a great showing for them. Shows JJ still got it. Interesting. We'll see if Ford... JJ was kind of vying for some more Ford support. He's like, hey, listen, we showed we can do this. So we'll see if anything comes of that. But that was my good surprise.
Well, I guess we'll jump into mine. So Corey Day, obviously, I mean, he gets his first win, but I had him on there because, again, that's not a track that I would expect him to get his first win at. And the last closing laps was really impressive, keeping his car up there. When he was in the first couple of races, he was the weapon on the track, taking people out, not making good blocks. Well, we're on our third drafting track of the year, going from Daytona, Atlanta to Talladega. I would still put him in my risky category, and he just came out and won the thing. We're going to talk about Jason Kelsey a little bit later as well. Another person that is in that same category, though, that I would put as risky on the track is Brent Cruz. He was too young to race at Daytona and Atlanta earlier this year. This was his first drafting track. And he had another stellar performance for someone that is young, hopping into the O'Reilly car for the first time this year, a little bit late into the season. Another good run for him. And then finally, I just wanted to mention Jeb Burton. These are the tracks that you expect Jeb Burton to maybe run a little bit closer to the front than the other tracks. And obviously, he was caught into that last lap wreck, but before that, he was running the race really well, driving his way through, and was up front nearly all day.
Yeah, I do actually I had one thing I want to mention about Corey Day is that he won basically by doing nothing because they threw the caution on the last lap and because of Sam Mayer wrecking. I believe that was Sam Mayer's race to win on the last lap, but Corey Day kind of did win by doing nothing. A win is still a win, though, and we take those. For my race pick for Talladega, had Jesse Love, who got 7th place, and I believe I beat you, which means I believe that I get to pick first. My race pick
I'd also
for Texas. Yeah, sucks to suck, pal. My race pick for Texas is going to be Roger Caruth. I believe the 88, I didn't check. I hope he's in the 88. If he's in the 32, we are cooked, gang. We are cooked. I believe Roger Caruth gets it done. His first career O'Reilly win at Texas. Had a good race in Talladega. I think he gets it done. He's got confidence now. He's ready to strike. Who is your race pick for Texas?
So I got a question. Is that vodka in the water, brother? Because cheers, brother. Don't know if that one's going to go right for you.
Would you have picked Corey Day at Talladega?
No. Mine's going to be Justin Allgaier. I feel like he's someone to beat. Obviously, that's the easy pick, but I feel like he's just going to be someone to beat. He's won the most races already this year, and time for his redemption. He hasn't won in a couple weeks. Time for his redemption tour.
I do agree.
You ready to jump into Cup?
I am ready to jump into Cup. All right, so qualifying gets canceled, meaning Tyler Reddick is on the pole for the race. Not a ton interesting happens. However, Chad Fincham does lead the race for a point. I thought that was interesting. That was fun. Usually expect the 66 by whatever lap it was. Lap 10 to be at least 4 laps down, but they were in the lead, gang. So like we mentioned last week, Talladega stages, the first one was one giant stage. It was like 100 laps or whatever. And on pit road, there's a whole host of issues, including Denny Hamlin speeding. Go figure. Might as well just have written that one in already pre-race because we knew it was going to happen. Always speeding. Chase Briscoe hits a tire on pit road. Also, Austin Cindric misses his pit as he's blocked by Todd Gilliland. That screws him over most of the race. We are saddened to hear that. He never had a chance the whole race, but my bias is showing. Let's see, my second bullet point. Fox is greedy. Going to commercial, lap 15. Then another with 12 to go. 15 to go, I believe, in one of the stages. Then another round with 12 to go. And then another with 8 to go. Greedy bastards. And we can kind of get into, they did release some explanation after the race. We'll get into that, but no, I don't buy it. Let's see. Oh, next bullet point. Full screen commercial yet again. Lying. Pieces of shit. What are we doing? Going to commercial, full screen commercial. That's 2 weeks in a row. Let's see. The Fords only make one stop on the first stage, and Ryan Preece wins the stage as they all go only one stop. The big one With 74 laps to go, Ross Chastain bumps Bubba Wallace, going wrong. The entire field gets involved, or I believe it was 26 cars. Essentially, the entire field wadded up in one go. I'm not going to tell you who was all involved. I'm not going to tell you who was not involved. A lot of heavy hitters.
I wrote down all the names if you want me to say them.
That's okay. Save yourself the trouble. Let's see. So the big one happens. We see a certain camera view live showing of the big one. Then, Fox shows one replay. As they're going to commercial, by the way, crash happens. They show one replay, which is the same exact camera view that we just saw, but slowed down. And they go to commercial. Greedy Fox. But then, as we're going to break, Mike Joy says, we need to sort this out, guys. Fox is the biggest broadcast channel in the world. If the NFL can have a 10-second play, and then 20 seconds later have 18 different available replays for the play, how do we have to go to commercial to get a single replay to show what actually happened? This is Fox. NASCAR on Fox. It's the same company. What are we doing? We come back from commercial. We show the same exact angle again. We've seen no other angle, by the way. And it's just slowed down at this point. And at this point, also, we don't have a who was involved section yet. And I believe they went back to commercial before we saw who was actually involved. Go for it.
I have the podcast title. I just want to let you know.
Okay.
It's going to be called The Josh Crash Out. Okay, carry on.
Okay. No, worth bringing up. Because what are we doing? This is Fox. This is Fox. Greedy bastards. Like I said, 26 people involved. I have a couple people not involved. I don't really care. A few laps later, once they get going, the race was red flag. A few laps later, once it gets going, Ty Gibbs crashes, blowing a tire, collects Michael McDowell. Kyle Busch gets the free pass. And at this point, I'm getting furious, sitting in my recliner chair watching this race, because I realized that if I want to understand the live leaderboard, who's laps down, it doesn't matter if I want to watch it on the broadcast, because all they care about is showing you who the manufacturers are, as if everybody has drool coming out of their mouth and is just getting into the sport for the first time. I had to go onto the website to figure out how many laps down Austin Cindric is. Is he going to get the free pass? No. He didn't get the free pass. And I had to guess because the broadcast did not show me. And you'd think, with all the extra downtime that they had during the red flag, that maybe they'd be like, okay, here's who was involved in the crash, a little earlier. But no, I think they finally showed the who was involved probably once it was like lifted from red to yellow. And so the reason now Fox says that they are going to full screen commercials. This was posted by Adam Stern on Twitter. The reason they're like, actually, we had to do full screen commercials because there was no cautions in stage number 1. And we didn't account for that. So we had to do it afterwards. Which is, you're accounting for no cautions in what people are saying is going to be the worst stage in drafting track history. Stage number 1, 100 laps. You're already a fool. And then number 2, what about last week? Because there was full screen ads last week. These people are incompetent and fools, and they think that we're all fools. They think everyone's watching this NASCAR race cross-eyed because they've had too many margaritas at Chili's. What are we doing? Ross Chastain wins stage number 2. The Fox broadcast rant is temporarily over. Don't worry, we will get back into it, gamers. Austin Cindric finally gets the free pass. I don't really care about any of this other stuff. The rest of the race was a gridlock, unfortunately. It was just like last spring when Austin Cindric won. They're 2x2. Nobody's passing anybody. It is what it is. Carson Hocevar wins for the first time and has a fantastic celebration, which we can get into now. Lexi, I want you to tell us, how did the celebration go and what were your thoughts about it?
How it went? What the hell you want me to do? Reenact it?
Yes.
Alright. I'm probably gonna... You have to remember this headset only goes so much. Alright, I'm gonna probably break my fucking neck.
Try to catch the beer can,
But don't worry, I'm full screen. I'm full screen now. I'm tall. I'm not sitting on the bottom of my chair.
No longer 4 foot. Here we go.
Just like that.
Yes, he hung out his car.
I almost fell off.
And was celebrating. Very cool celebration. Probably did get a concussion when he smacked the wall. But
yeah,
that was fun. And I think Mike Joy said it best. He said, a superstar has been born. And I do agree. I think he is in the running for potentially... I mean, people say this all the time. People have said about Larson. People said about other people. But I do think he has a chance of becoming NASCAR's most popular driver. And I'm curious about your thoughts about that.
Well, I will say that... well, I guess I can jump into this now. Well, I'll hold off a little bit. But I think this was a great PR weekend for NASCAR. And I'll jump into that a little bit later. But this Carson Hocevar, well, NASCAR itself has been begging to get new fans, right? Everyone, if you look at the NASCAR demographic, it's generally older people that like their old school ways, this and that. NASCAR is begging to get new fans. Who are the new fans flocking towards? But Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar streams on Twitch. He shows up into the racetrack in a cowboy hat. He is the perfect person to have the Chili's sponsor. After he won the race, where did he go? Friggin' Chili's, and brought the trophy inside Chili's. And he said he didn't drink, but he was gonna have a Chili's margarita last night. You know, I think he is exactly the person that the younger demographic will find as their favorite driver. And I think he will bring in new people. And that also goes with Cletus, and like I said, I'll dive into that a little bit more later. But I could see... the old school fans like Chase Elliott. And it's nothing bad against Chase Elliott, but like you're gonna have kind of come to the... it'll be Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and Carson Hocevar. I feel like will be, in a couple years, the top 3 drivers for the most popular drivers in the sport. We'll see where Cletus goes. I mean, obviously you have to take that into account, but like... I choked. Probably from going like this, screaming at the top of my lungs.
Coughing segment.
But anyway... Yep. Keep it in. But yeah, it's probably... we'll see where Cletus goes. I mean, if you ask me today, April 27th, 2026, do I think Cletus McFarland is going to run Cup Series full time? No. But, again, we'll see where we are in 5 years. But I think it'll be Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and then Carson Hocevar will be the most popular drivers in the next couple of years. In the next couple of years, also, you're going to lose, probably, Kyle Busch. You're going to lose Denny Hamlin. Brad Keselowski says he wants to race another 10 years, so fine, we'll keep him on. But, like, where did these Denny Hamlin fans go? Who becomes their next driver? Who becomes the next driver for the Kyle Busch fans? You know, people like Rowdy, and Rowdy was crazy. Who's the new crazy driver? Carson Hocevar.
Yeah. It's definitely not going to be Zane Smith, because he might surpass Chase Elliott as the driest driver on the grid. But that's some whole other nonsense. Yeah, I think he definitely has a chance of being one of the more popular drivers if he keeps at it. Because also, like, NASCAR is very, like, for the past few years, they've been, like, kind of trying to chase, I think, F1's, like, demographic, where it's, like, a little more sophisticated. And this year, they've fully leaned into just, I mean, it was kind of joked, it was memed on when it first came out, but the hell yeah. They're like, you know what, we're, I don't know how to describe it, but rednecks, we're proud. We love our NASCAR. You know, we all drink beer, whatever it is. That kind of stereotype. And I think Carson Hocevar plays into that pretty well. He is kind of that guy. He's just unabashedly himself. And I think that's good for him. But I think at this point, I'm going into my good surprise, unless you have more to add.
No, I think that's really all to add. Steve O'Donnell did jump in and say that he does not, while he didn't like the big slam into the wall, he wasn't going to ban the celebration. So, you know, we're already jumping to conclusions that Carson Hocevar is going to get another victory. I do think he will. But if he does, will he do that again? I don't know. But I did like that he went out. He said that he didn't think that the fans could always see the drivers when they win, and they could, so he wanted to make eye contact as he was driving around the track, and I thought that was cool, you know? Someone tried to throw him a beer, he was close, but he missed it as he was driving through, but maybe next time he'll catch it.
Yeah, I'm curious, So I guess this is going to be me kind of jumping on to some of the off-track news here, but I did want to mention this, and I might as well bring up the other thing, is that Jim France this week stepped down to CEO and promoted Steve O'Donnell into the CEO role, and Ben Kennedy became COO, Chief Operating Officer. And I wonder, because it happened this week, I wonder if Carson Hocevar won later in the year after Steve O'Donnell has been promoted, if that he's maybe then bans the move. But because I think that Steve O'Donnell, I think it's his first week, he's like, I don't want to ruffle too many feathers, make any, hard declarations banning something my first week that I'm here. I wonder that if it was later in the year, if he would have a harder stance against it. And if it, just because it was this week, it's his first week, if he's just like, you know what, we'll let that slide. I was curious, do you think if it was later in the year, do you think that he would be as okay with it?
I think, well, I don't necessarily know. I can tell you a couple things. There was a moment that I told you as we were watching that I thought Carson Hocevar, when he first kind of got a hold of, maybe like got the steering wheel off and started going, I thought he was going to slam his back into the wall and like press himself in between the wall and the car. And I go, ooh, if that happened, I mean, well, obviously he'd probably have an injury, but like, if it got a little bit more closer, that also would make me think, Steve O'Donnell might pull the plug on that. Again, I think we need to see, maybe this was the trial run, we'll see what happens after there was the practice run, if he maybe has a bit better control next time. Again, he did say that he didn't like the slam into the wall. If maybe Carson Hocevar next time can coast into the wall instead of bang himself off of it, but I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, let's see what happens next time and then see if it gets banned after that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, my good surprise for the race. Daniel Suarez got caught up in the big one, drove backwards to pit road after the crash. Great recovery, finishes 12th place. Very happy for Daniel. Obviously, Spire Motorsports on a heater right now, pretty much besides Michael McDowell, who got caught up in the wreck, but he was running pretty awful to begin with. That was my good surprise, and at this point, I'm going on my bad surprise, because you can't stop me. My bad surprise was not a driver. It was the quality of the racing, the second half of the race. I was expecting the first half to be awful, second half to be good. It was actually kind of the inverse, because of all the different strategies in the first stage. It actually made it somewhat interesting. The race was gridlocked the whole last two stages. It was pretty rough to watch. And, I might as well throw NASCAR and Fox there in the bad surprise. All the goodwill they've built up here, out the window. What are we doing? But I've already said my piece. What's your good surprise?
My good surprise, Kyle Busch got a late penalty. He was able to drive his way back up there. Tyler Reddick was now involved in 2 crashes yesterday, so he was involved in the big one, and then he had a tire blowout. He drove his way back up to 14th to finish the race, which I thought was pretty incredible. And then also Cody Ware, who was up front all day. He got a lot of flack the week before, maybe not to necessarily his fault. His team kept him out a little bit longer, but he brought out that late caution that pretty much cost Denny Hamlin the win. But he was up front all day up until that last lap crash that ended up taking him out. Bad surprise, Denny Hamlin. Wow, what a fucking terrible day for him. He never recovered after the initial speeding penalty. He got put back into the madness, then got involved in that wreck. He was laps down and just had a hard time getting his lap back. I think he finally got it at the end, but yeah, they were just battling, and whatever they were trying to do, they just, bad luck happened to them every single time. The strategy that the crew chief had him on, every single time, I feel like, I mean, it's Talladega, you obviously are trying to make your way through, but like, nothing was working out. It was a bad day all around for Denny Hamlin. That's why I was surprised, because you always kind of put him generally, you'd think being one of, if you're not involved in a wreck, generally one of the ones you would think that would be battling for the win, and he was awful after he got that speeding penalty, just could not make his way back up. My Talladega pick, I already said it, was Tyler Reddick, and he got 14th, had a good rebound after the blown tire. I honestly don't remember who you had for Talladega.
I had Joey Logano, he finished second to last. So go ahead and pick.
Alright, my pick for Texas, gonna be Ryan Blaney. I think he's had 2 horrible weeks. Another person that I think is going to rebound when they go to Texas. I think that he is generally the strongest of the Penske cars. Sorry, Josh. But I think he's generally the strongest of the Penske cars, and I think that he'll do pretty well at Texas, and just got to beat the Toyota, because I think they're the ones to beat right now.
Yeah, he's a good pick. I mean, he's always solid. He's very good at the intermediates. My race pick, and in my notes I specifically said, fuck it, Carson Hocevar. The seal has been broken. He ran good here last year. He's very strong in the intermediates. He is gonna win Texas. You know, he doesn't even have to win. All he has to do is wait for Ryan Blaney's pit crew to explode and be better than him. Carson Hocevar is my pick for Texas. Now I'm looking here at my notes, and I'm about empty in terms of the race, so I'm ready to move to off track unless you got more.
Well, I just want to kind of jump back in and finish up what I was saying with what a good PR week it was for NASCAR. So let's start at the beginning, right? ARCA. Andy J gets his first ever win. And I don't want to take away from him because he was the one that gave that iconic line of basically like, I'm not lifting until I see God or the checkered flag fly. And then Cletus entered ARCA, and now Cletus kind of has taken over as the face of ARCA. Nothing against Cletus, but when Cletus does good and has like these iconic, if you will, moments, that's good for the sport, right? So Cletus McFarlane gets second place in the ARCA race. You'd think the guy fucking won because he got out of his car, jumped up on top of the car, and went like this. The guy got second. He didn't win. He got second. He did go to victory lane to congratulate Andy J. I don't know if you, I don't know how to say his last name. That's why I'm calling him Andy J. But he did give, props to Andy. But, so I think that's good though, right? Because Cletus is someone that is bringing his fan base to the sport. They live stream. He's crazy on the radio. He took the lead at Talladega and said, be like Biff, be like Biff, be like Biff, right? So he's bringing that fan base that NASCAR desperately wants to the sport. Let's jump into the O'Reilly race now. Not again to take away from Corey Day, but Jason Kelsey being at the track. Remember, last week, Stephen A. Smith gave a shitty take that NASCAR drivers aren't athletes. Well, Jason Kelsey, I said to you that I thought, I wonder if he's there trying to prove a point wrong. Well, no, I was wrong, because Jason Kelsey went to Hendrick Motorsports a couple weeks earlier and was obviously practicing and seeing which role would work for him to do on this pit crew. Well, Jason Kelsey 10 years ago was an NFL player. Jason Kelsey now, and obviously it helps with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but Jason Kelsey now is a figure that everyone knows in America, and the guy is popping up all over the place. He was at the Masters, he has his obviously extremely popular podcast. All of a sudden, this guy out of nowhere, like I feel like nothing ever got announced about it. He's just, helping the pit crew for Corey Day and the O'Reilly series. Everyone is like, what the hell is this guy doing here? So he's gonna bring his popular podcast viewers, his popular fans from the Eagles, his star self. New people might check out NASCAR that way. Another good thing that happened for NASCAR this week. Now let's end it in the Cup Series. Up and coming driver, fan favorite, Carson Hocevar gets his first ever win, but what's going to be known is the celebration. The celebration, if it gets banned, who knows? But if the celebration is going to be something that NASCAR and Fox, even NASCAR itself, is going to show for decades. That he went around Talladega and is half out of the car. If he doesn't do it again, if it becomes his thing, like, now Kyle Busch doing the bow is just like, oh, Kyle Busch is doing the bow, right? But if Carson Hocevar doesn't do it again, or only does it for special occasions, like, this is going to go down as one of the most iconic celebrations that has ever happened, kind of like, the Hail Melon, a once-in-a-lifetime thing that he hits the wall, and we see it every time they go to Martinsville. What are you going to see? What preview are you going to see for Martinsville? Every time it's going to be Ross Chastain Hail Meloning it across the wall, right? So this is going to be one of those moments that is going to be seen for all these years. Probably will make ESPN this week being like, look at this fucking guy. And I actually showed you Yahoo. No. You know my thoughts on Yahoo. I think they're one of the worst sports broadcasters in the whole entire world. They're absolute dog shit. But Yahoo had one of their top stories was Carson Hocevar doing the celebration. It wasn't that Carson Hocevar won his first race. It wasn't that there was a 26-car pileup that happened in the race. It was that Carson Hocevar did this crazy celebration. It's probably going to be banned, but that's made Yahoo top news. This is a great starting week, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Steve O'Donnell had anything to do with this, because you can't predict Cletus is going to get second. He probably didn't know Jason Kelsey. Well, he probably knew, but Jason Kelsey doing the pit crew, you didn't know that Corey Day was going to win. So now, like, the headline could be Jason Kelsey's 1-for-1 at NASCAR, right? So you can't predict that, and then you can't predict that Carson Hocevar is going to do that celebration. Wow, what a great week for Steve O'Donnell and Ben Kennedy to start their run as being the top dogs in NASCAR. I just want to say that's a great PR week for NASCAR. So many new fans, new faces might have eyes this week being like, wow, look at all these cool things happening in NASCAR.
Yeah, I did think actually it was pretty cool too that Jason Kelsey was there, and he did it for O'Reilly, not Cup. Because like if he was there just like trying to be like, like sometimes, like they have like Fox will have like some actor who's on some like Fox original show, and they'll show up to Sunday and be like, yeah man, I'm so excited to be here, I love NASCAR, and like by the time that green flag drops and they're out of the view, they are on the flight back home because they do not care. Fox told them to come out here and promote the race. Jason Kelsey was there on O'Reilly on a Saturday actually doing stuff, and they never interviewed him, so I'm assuming they probably asked to interview him, and he probably just said no. He's like, that tells me that he was there, just wasn't there to promote. He was there to hang out and learn stuff. And I think that's kind of cool. I also
you gonna
actually
watch
did have
New
one
Heights
more.
this week?
No. But I did have one more, actually, that I didn't realize, thing relevant to Talladega, which is that Daniel Dye returned to Talladega. Driving for Live Fast Motorsports, a.k.a. BJ McLeod's team. And he got announced that he's going to be doing Talladega, obviously this past week, Pocono, Daytona, and the fall Talladega. And I want your opinion on this too, but I am disappointed for a couple reasons. One, no time has passed since he had his incident making fun of David Malakas. No offense, David, sorry. But no time has passed and he immediately gets a cup ride. His debut, he gets a cup ride after this. For what? If you compare it to Larson's incident or Noah Gregson's incident, they were out the rest of the year. They waited. I'm also disappointed in BJ for giving him a ride so soon after this. He's not hurting for money. He sold his charter for $40 million. Why? You're, doing a whole side of your hauler with his race to stop suicide. Ironic, his sponsor. And also BJ, on the other hand, BJ said he wants to win a cup race. Why are you taking yourself out of your best opportunity to win a cup race at these super speedways and putting in Daniel Dye? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand. And I want your opinion on this because I didn't like seeing him out there. I think it's too soon, and I'm confused on the BJ decision to step out of the car.
If I had to guess, the answer is money talks. I'm pretty sure Daniel Dye is from a rich family. I think his dad has some money, and if I had to guess, they bought the ride. Especially if they're wrapping that hauler, which they did. That makes me think that this is something that there might not be necessarily looking as a 1-year deal. It might be a little bit longer. Daniel Dye did do his, whatever he had to do, sensitivity training. I don't necessarily love that he got promoted when he lost his ride, so he loses his ride, and, well, he resigned from the truck series, and then he was racing 1 or 2 ARCA races before that, obviously, but he then gets promoted to Cup. I don't necessarily love that, but again, money talks, and that's the problem with a lot of these teams in these series is that these people buy their rides, right? I wouldn't even be able to give you a dollar amount, but like if Daniel Dye's family offered BJ McLeod X amount, how could BJ McLeod say no if it's this massive amount of money that he probably wouldn't be getting? He goes to these races and he could miss the races, right? He almost missed the Daytona 500 and made it in on who was it? Anthony Alfredo DQ'd?
Yeah, technicality.
Yeah, so maybe again, you don't know what the amount of money is, but if I had to guess, he was offered this huge amount of money and just honestly couldn't say no.
Disappointing. Let's see. Moving on. We only got a little bit of NASCAR news this week. Chris Gabehart and Spire responded to Joe Gibbs Racing, requesting a trial in November. They said they want one in May 2027 instead. Also, this week, the judge granted a preliminary injunction that says that Gabehart did steal info, but there's no proof that Spire has it or that he gave it to anybody, or that Spire hired him illegally. But they did say that his 18-month non-compete is enforceable. So Gabehart cannot do any duties that would have overlapped with what he was doing at Joe Gibbs Racing. I've only got 2 more off-track news, but I think you probably got them. So I'll turn it over to you. What do you got? Lay it on me.
Well, we talked about Jim France stepping down, so I'll skip over that one. The Kyle Larson documentary of him attempting to run the double, so the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day. He tried that in 2024 and 2025. Obviously, both times they went really shitty, but they're still going to release the documentary, and that'll be released May 21st on Prime. Some truck news. This one's going to be a little bit longer. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to race for Nice Motorsports at Watkins Glen on May 8th. Connor Zilch will race for Kaulig Trucks as well at Watkins Glen on May 8th. Announced during pre-race yesterday, Clint Boyer is going to attempt to race for Kaulig Trucks at Dover on May 15th, and Jay McMurray will attempt to race for Kaulig Trucks at San Diego on June 19th. Also during pre-race, Tyler Reddick announces a contract extension with 23XI. I feel like that's something we saw coming for a while. Obviously, look at the start of the season he had. He probably was able to ask for a little bit more money maybe than, last year he went winless. All of a sudden now he's won 5 times this year. Imagine how much more money he was able to ask for. But they finally got that deal done. A great move for 23XI, obviously. We talked a little bit about Stephen A. Smith saying golfers and NASCAR drivers aren't athletes. The only thing I'm going to touch up on this is that I think he got exactly what he wanted. I think that he put that statement out there and was just hoping that it would piss off. Well, I don't know about, PGA and, how that went over in their fan base, but I only see NASCAR. But he got exactly what he wanted in the NASCAR fan base, and that is that people took it and was basically like, come try this then, go fuck yourself. And he got the publicity he wanted. I always say to you, bad publicity is still publicity, and he's getting, those likes, those clicks. People adding him. So I think he got exactly what he wanted. Obviously, the NASCAR community is like, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah, we're athletes, probably more in shape than a lot of these other people that you're, talking about every day on ESPN. I don't even think I need to ask you. I will, but what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, look at the source. Stephen A. Smith, has no NASCAR knowledge. His parent company, ESPN, has no NASCAR knowledge currently. What you said it before. Carson, host for Celebration, is probably going to be on ESPN. Why? Not because of anything he did in the racetrack, but because of what he did off the racetrack. Something strange on my hand. They don't talk about NASCAR normally. They have no idea. They do not have a NASCAR person on payroll. They have no clue what's going on. They would look at the racing at Talladega and be like, why are they all so close together? They don't understand. So my thing is, don't give the time or the energy to some fool who has no clue what's going on, who's just talking just because they have a mic in their face. Not us. But, don't give these people what they want. I agree with you. He got exactly what he wanted. Don't give him just ignore him. He's just the annoying kid in the playground who's just saying, fart. Ignore him. He's annoying.
This man also acts on soap operas, and maybe if he took the time of day from him reading these soap opera scripts to, brush up a little bit on NASCAR, maybe he wouldn't feel that way. And for golf, I don't want to, take golf out of it, but what the fuck are you talking about? Has this guy ever participated in any sports? I don't think so.
Has he ever been to a NASCAR race?
Probably not. So then you probably shouldn't be giving your opinions on there. Stop acting in your goddamn soap operas and maybe watch a NASCAR race or attend a NASCAR race. I know you have the money. Okay, I'll keep it pushing. All right. Lionel Racing website crashed after pre-orders fly in for Carson Hocevar's first Talladega win diecast. While Lionel Racing pisses me off with their price of their diecasts, I think this is great because they've gotten so expensive but everyone not everyone, a good amount of people want one. I think this is, for a website to crash, especially the diecast industry, which I feel like is starting maybe to struggle a little bit, and that's, what I think is why these prices are going up. It's great to see that people still want to, add this iconic win, and I will say iconic. 1, it's his first. 2, again, the celebration, to their collection. Finally, the last thing, this is news as of today. When this podcast gets uploaded, it'll be news as of yesterday. Andy Street will take over for crew chief for the number 8 Cup team for the rest of the 2026 season. Jim Pullman, who was crew chief for Justin Allgaier previously, will transition into a leadership role within RCR's competition department. All I can say for that is, that was fast. We're 10 races down, and Jim Pullman, done. Bring in Andy Street. I will say Kyle Busch has had a tough start to the season, but RCR itself also has a tough start to the season, and I wouldn't necessarily put that on Jim Pullman. We've talked about it endlessly these last couple weeks, but they are one of the worst teams in NASCAR right now.
Yeah, it also has to do with, Kyle Busch is getting outran by Austin Dillon. And I think even people at RCR are like, that is something that should not happen. And when Jim Pullman was brought in, people questioned, they're like, this guy is from the O'Reilly series. He doesn't have experience with the next gen car. And people were wondering, how is this going to work out? Well, apparently not that good because he's already out. But also, I'm confused. Granted, it's Talladega. It really doesn't mean anything car-wise, but he just comes off his best result of the year. And he's on the chopping block. Don't understand the timing of it, but that is what it is. That's all I gotta say.
That was all I had for off-track news. The only thing I want to say is since I didn't really necessarily give my opinion on it, but every single week on the NASCAR pod that I put a poll up there asking how the Fox broadcast did for this past race, and Fox's broadcast was exceptional. There were some questionable moments or disappointed with Fox's broadcast. Well, the majority this week, we're only almost 6 hours in, maybe 5.5 hours in, and the majority of the votes, which had over 100 as of a couple hours ago, said they were disappointed with Fox's broadcast this week. So you have some people on your side saying that Fox was, a shit show. And that I also don't really have a Twitter following. I'm not a big Twitter user, but I posted something on Twitter and had the most likes and reactions bashing the Fox broadcast that I've ever had. So I think a lot of people agree with you that this was an absolute shit show this week, and we're putting the countdown in our phones, waiting for the prime coverage to start.
Yeah. Horrible. Awful. All the goodwill that they've earned making strides thrown out the window this week because it was just an embarrassment. Anybody, the plate tracks to the super speedways, they're the ones who get the most eyes on because they are generally the most exciting. Obviously the next gen is kind of a little bit different now, but still, they're usually the most exciting. And this is the product that we're offering up. Oh, you want to know where your driver's running? Too bad. Fuck you. Figure it out. Go pull up the website.
I will say, thank God. I don't usually watch. You're talking about NFL on Fox, the New York Jets, which this is really humiliating to admit that I'm a New York Jet fan, but generally they're on CBS, so I don't know how Fox does necessarily doing the coverage for NFL games, but I imagine I've watched the Super Bowl on Fox before and I didn't see any issues, so I don't know why there's such a big difference between NFL on Fox and NASCAR on Fox, but we got a bunch of idiots in this, and NASCAR on Fox dropped their top dog, didn't they? Someone left last year, retired, and we're like, well, maybe this will change things. Well, guess not.
No, they're set in their ways. It's like a racist grandpa. We're not changing them.
Got anything else?
No, I'm good. Well, folks, thanks for watching this extended broadcast. of Draft and Drive. We'll be back next week talking about Texas. If you're new, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.